Are you sure?
Good Monday morning, you guys. Oh my gosh, the first 3 days of school is done. So I have all that to talk to you guys about. But you guys just need to author talk with me, Amy Russell. Dina is back today, and our lovely guest today is Lacie. And so I will fill you in on who this wonderful woman is in just a minute. But let's all jab in about our weekends. So, you guys, my daughters, both of my kids, started school on Wednesday. So it has been a whirlwind of a week, closing it out, going into the weekend. It was crazy. Sky, I'm not even joking, you guys. I took her to the class. She sat down, started coloring, and she was all like, okay, Mom, you can hang my backpack up there and I'll see you later. Like, laters, she could care less that I was there. She didn't want me to stay. Meadow was having a rough go. Counselor got involved. It was just a fun time. So I spent all day Wednesday crying because I haven't been alone in my house for 6 years. I've always had a kid there, and now I'm alone with Josh. So I was crying pretty much most of the day due to that. And so, yes, Russell, poor Josh. No, poor me. Okay. In reality, poor me. Okay. And plus, my car's been in the shop. I didn't get it back till Friday. It was gone for 2 weeks. I didn't get a rent a car. Me and him were having to share the car, and it was just a crazy whole thing. He invited me to a pity lunch, you guys. Nothing's worse than a pity invite. It was just a whirlwind of, so I have survived, and I'm just going to run around with my head cut off for the next, 8 months. But hopefully everybody's weekend was better. Russell, I'm going to go to you because I'm dying to know how your house renovations are coming. How's it going making all your new friends?
Show it. And
I'm
that
getting
was
it. I'm getting it.
both a hateful question and something I well deserved.
It was
Lacey, when
not.
she built a new house, I gave her crap for months about it. And this
Yes.
is my master bedroom. Is it
Oh,
not
Oh,
gorgeous?
it looks
All
like a
of
looks so
fun
comfy.
time.
Yes, it's so comfortable that it's going to probably go diagonally. So, but
Mm.
uh the whole house, that's the house. The house is a shell with everything ripped out of it,
Wow.
redone. So everything, I'm a complete hypocrite and liar about everything I said to Amy. I admit it. I vowed to her she was right and I was a liar.
I
That's funny.
love it. I love it. But to be fair, Russell, really quick, these are my kids before school.
Aw.
They could
Oh,
care
they're
less.
so happy. You were so
Well,
nervous.
it's just my youngest. Okay. My oldest was not picture ready. We didn't get pictures till Thursday, and I still can't share those. So it's just a fun time. But Russell, so you're liking all your new friends and all the hammering and everything happening?
It's just misery, and it's just like any old house. You when you're ripping things apart, you find new bad things, right? So I'm a complete hypocrite. That's all I have to do. I do want to change the subject and mention something else, and that is uh last night I was walking with my dog. I was walking my dog late at night at an abandoned church next to one of our two apartments are now. We have
That's not
two.
creepy at all. You're walking
Yes.
late at night with your dog in an abandoned area. That's not
Yes.
creepy.
And I noticed there's a white straight truck parked in the parking lot, and it's been there the last three times we walked. And
Serial killer.
and
Sus.
as I walked back to the apartment, I noticed a car pulled up at late at night, pulled up at this truck. A lady got out of the passenger side, went to the truck, then went back. Then they left. The truck was there this morning when I took the dog out. I have a uh that's the first paragraph. If listeners would, I would love to get listeners' second paragraph to the story of the old man and his dog walking and seeing that truck. And if you would write the next paragraph and put it in the comments below, I will read them next week.
It's fun.
My mind goes to so many things. Oh my gosh.
You
Okay.
could go anyway. I would
As soon
love
as you
to.
said white, I said serial killer.
Oh, see, I was thinking affair because she got out of the passenger seat. The truck's still there. I'm thinking affair. It's their rendezvous point. That's where my mind went. But I digress. I don't know anything at all. But
I'm
Dina,
thinking
Lacie.
Matt.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. I mean, I was going down that direction too, but I was, I don't know. Well, Dina,
Drug
Lacie,
dealers.
what did you guys do? Hopefully it was no crazy illegal activity going on. So what did you guys do this weekend?
Lacie, go ahead.
Nothing crazy here. Probably the polar opposite of that, kind of lame, but it tends to be how my weekends go. Basically, I just sat at my desk and worked, just scheduling out posts and drafting newsletters and all that fun stuff. ARC distribution, just the usual PA lifestyle.
Being a badass. That's what it is. It was
Sure.
just a badass all
We
weekend.
can call it that.
I like it.
Just
I
keeping
like
things running, whatever.
keeping the well-oiled machine going. I like it.
Yeah, you could say it that way. I like that too.
Dina, what did you do?
I did absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Did you
Awesome.
find who stole your tequila bottle? That's what I want to know.
No, I still don't know. I'm telling you, I think wee Bossy has been drinking it. She swears up and down she hasn't. I got her lined out for school. So,
Maybe she took it to school with her.
Ooh.
well, she is a junior in high school now. So,
Oh, yeah, well, you better
man.
should have
check the
been
back
passing
seat
it
of her car.
around to all the other dorks. And because, see, she's a brainiac.
Oh, they're the worst. Our first, our daughter was our first. She was so good, but one day my wife was uh, looking for something in my daughter's car when she was a senior in high school and found a bottle of coconut rum in the back seat of her car.
Nice.
And when she confronted her with it, she said, "Oh, mom, I took that. There was this freshman that was at a party and she was in trouble. And I made her get in the car and I took her home and she had that with her."
Likely
God,
story.
I know, but that was
is believable.
creative. I know. And the best lies have truth in them, right?
I mean, it was fair. It was fair.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I am here for it.
Okay. We need to thank our listeners. Lacie, we're like top 10% within our genre of
Cool.
some of the podcasts, top 1% others. We're very grateful to our listeners. And for a long time after we got on podcast, I could never find us. Then Amy did some stuff. It sounds like kind of stuff that you might do. I don't know. We're going to find out. And then I could find us. Amy, where can people find us on the podcast?
Yeah, you guys, you can find us anywhere that you can search for a podcast. My go-to, of course, is Amazon Music, but there's Spotify, Good Pods, iTunes if you're an Apple user, Google Play if you use Android like me. But really anywhere you can come over on our Facebook group, YouTube channel, any one of our social media platforms. You can connect with us, ask questions, interact with us live in time. Me and Valerie tend to be very animated, and Russell likes to say I don't have a good poker face. I control what comes out of my mouth, not what my face does. Okay, like that's just how it rolls. You always know where you stand me, and I'm very animated, talk a lot with my hands. So come on over, laugh with and at us, because most of the time we're probably doing that ourselves. So come on over. We love answering your questions. But I feel like, and me and Russell both agree, I'm going to give you a backstory on how Lacie came to be on our show and why this is probably one of the most exciting shows Russell has been waiting for. Okay. So eons ago. I don't even remember how many months ago. Me and Russell, if you guys have tuned in every Monday, we've given updates about this tattoos being done at this book convention. I was like, oh, I bet it's a romance book convention. And it was. And so it all kind of started from there. But Russell had brought over about how in India, they have this big book festival and it is increasing readership. And it's like the hip thing to do, right? And how come we don't have them over here? And then we went back and forth about how I compared them to Comic-Cons because they have a literary track and there was a hill I was going to die on. And then I slowly got kicked off this hill. Okay. I'll never fully admit that except in the show, but that is legit what happened. Then we kind of started diving a little bit deeper. And Russell was all like, did you know that some of these book conferences or book festivals have tattoo artists? And that's when I was like, yeah, I bet that is a like romance book convention. He was like, it was. And then we slowly kind of got to talking about book-inspired tattoos and how a lot of them probably are based in the romance arena. Either it's a quote or a title or a cover of a book. So it makes sense that a tattoo artist would be at those conventions because readers of romance books are probably more likely to get a bookish tattoo. Not all, but most of them. Russell ended up, he was international, traveling the globe like Russell does, doing all those things. And he started realizing or noticing these book tattoos. I told him that he should ask and start the conversation. But then he slowly kind of keyed in that would be creepy, an old man asking a young woman about a tattoo. So then it got me thinking.
Do you not agree with that, Lacie?
I mean,
I do agree. Yeah.
There you go.
I wouldn't have found it creepy, but whatever. Maybe it's because I know you. I'm biased. So I got my gears turning. I had talked to Dina about some of like the things in romance and stuff. And she was all like, oh, Lacie knows a whole lot about it. Me and Lacie had talked. We've worked together in the book reviews for you. We've had casual like quarterly check-ins and stuff like that with Dina. And Lacie is just a badass in terms of like being a VA for authors. She knows all the ins and outs. We both read romance.
Tell people what a VA is.
Virtual assistant, you guys. So she is the one that functions and keeps everything going so the author can write more books for everybody to read. So she is just what I would classify as like a romance VA badass. I aspire to be like you one day, Lacie, for sure. And Dina and Lacie are good friends. So it made sense to have Dina on here with us. And we always love having Dina on. So we are here today.
Well, at least when she can find her tequila bottle.
Well, don't be drinking it at 10 in the morning. Okay. I'm just telling you, don't be doing that unless you're on vacay.
I feel attacked.
Don't feel attacked. But you guys, today is a very special day. Mark your calendars. August 18th of 2025 is an epic day because Russell is going to get hopefully all of his questions in terms of this romance genre answered. If not by Lacie, by Dina and I. And it's going to be a fun, spicy conversation. I'm so excited for it. So let's just dive in. Russell, tell us a question that you have and let's get Lacie talking and getting you information.
Well, first, I want to know, could you tell us when did it start? Who gets tattoos from books? What kind of books? Will you talk to us about that?
I couldn't say when it started, but definitely book cons and signings and things like that are getting more prevalent. And a lot of them do get genre specific, or they'll be just for romance or more fantasy leaning or something like that. A lot of them are just books in general, and you have authors in all genres and readers of all genres. But yeah, there are a lot of them are, spicy romance specifically. And I think when it comes to romance readers, they just tend to be more passionate sometimes. Like lots of readers are passionate. Lots of readers make, the fact that they like books kind of their whole personality, some might say. And lots of those readers don't do romance at all. But when you get into romance, it's kind of a different thing sometimes. It's like anything goes. Romance readers it turns out that romance readers are some of the most open-minded people I've ever met. They gain perspective from reading books that are like outside their comfort zone or just in a POV of a kind of like somebody who's in a different walk of life of them. than them, and then they open their mind to other things. You see romance readers being kind of coming along to things like polyamory and you know, just non-traditional things a lot faster. I've noticed. But as far as why there's tattoo artists at cons, I think when it comes to the people who just devour predominantly romance, and they do, these readers devour, like, you're talking 300 books per year, a lot of them. I think because if you are the kind of reader who gets into the book where, like, you're identifying with the leads, there's like an endorphin rush in that, and there's serotonin in that, because when a book's well written, or even if it's not, if it's just written in a way that you identify with it, maybe you kind of step into it, and you feel like you get those like real feels going, and then like you're getting something out of it, even if it is just endorphins. Like, that's not a little thing. So I think it gets to the point where all they want to do is be like, you know, because real life can be hard, you know, so maybe you just want to go escape into a book and get your serotonin boost that way. I don't know. I think that's maybe more prevalent among romance, or it's just more hardcore among romance than some other genres. But fantasy readers can be that way too. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see tattoo artists at a fantasy convention either. You go to any fantasy group or reader space on the internet, and they've all got their fourth wing tattoos, you know, or they're currently designing their fourth wing tattoo that they've
What's a
booked.
fourth wing tattoo?
Well, but fourth wing is also a romance. Like, it's huge in the romance spaces.
That's true. That is true.
It's like a fantasy romance. I don't know what is the nickname for that, Lacie.
Romantasy?
Romantasy. Yeah, it's a romance fantasy. Fourth wing.
That is a good point.
Is that what fourth wing is?
Yeah, it's a book in a series that's a romantasy. But I will say at fantasy conventions, so this is the hill that I'm going to die on. I picture those more as Comic-Cons, because you have other things that have to deal with like fantasy arenas. Like, you have sci-fi artists or actors from movies that were based on books, all those kinds of things. I haven't seen any tattoo artists there, but when he told me, the first thing I thought of was a romance one, because in all of my romance, and not just any romance, like, I'm going to specifically say like dark romance, just I'm in a lot of those groups. So I'm going to specifically say those because that's my experience. Those readers are the ones, in my opinion, most likely to get the tattoos, because the books have like such a deep impact on them, where true. They'll get like the quote, like "Run Little Mouse," right? Or covers of the books, because it just impacts them, whether they relate to the character because of the trauma and they have a shared trauma, or whatever it is. It's like something that they're into, whatever. They have that like shared commonality, and they just want to constantly be reminded of it. So I've seen it more only at those, Russell, to be honest.
So what's your reaction to that, Lacie?
So yeah, dark romancer readers specifically can be very, very passionate, maybe more so than some of the other like tropes or subgenres. I think with dark romance, though, and this is something that I relate to a lot.
And Lacie, would you define what dark romance is for our listeners?
So everybody kind of has their own idea of dark romance, because this comes back to like our own personal trauma and things along those lines. Some people just think if there's non-consent in a book, that equals dark romance. Others would say that if there's stalking, it's dark romance. And there's plenty of stalker books out there where he's actually like a bodyguard situation and there's nothing dark whatsoever happening. And so I think dark romance is really broad. I think of dark romance as the dark stuff is happening to like your lead. Like, maybe it's in a female lead's POV and she's kept in captivity. She's being, can we say the R word on here?
You can say whatever you want.
She's being, she's being raped, or other things being done to her without her consent. Yeah. She's being used. She's viewed as somebody's property. That's my idea of dark romance. But everybody has different thresholds. So to some people, just an aggressive male lead who won't take no for an answer that sounds kind of dark, but I mean it in, okay, say you have a shifter romance and he knows that she's his fated mate. He, like, his animal is like, that's my woman, that's my woman. She doesn't know any such thing exists. As far as she knows, just humans exist, and she's a human and he's a human, and she has no idea this is going on, but he's like, he sees her and he's like, mine. And so he's going to be a little like turning on the charm, not necessarily aggressive or stalkery even, but he's kind of not going to take no for an answer, at least not easily, and he's going to pursue her. Some people might even just view that as dark romance if they don't, just depending on where they come from in their own perspective. So to say what is dark romance, I think it's really broad, and I think everybody kind of has their own view on that. Like a popular dark romance read, say, take Haunting Adeline. This is something that people are rabid for, and I do like that author a lot. But I don't think that book wasn't dark at all. Like, nothing bad happens to the female lead. It's all written in her POV, and she's being stalked, but she loves every minute of it. It turns out that being stalked is a kink of hers, and she loves it. And nothing non-consensual happens to her. She never says no or stop or anything like that. It's been a little while since I read it, so maybe DubCon is there. Just to hold myself accountable, I might be remembering wrong.
What's subcon?
So DubCon is dubious consent, where she didn't specifically, or he, whoever, but yes wasn't specifically given, or maybe it's doubtful. Maybe it wasn't given at all. Like, consent is implied, but maybe consent wasn't really there, or maybe there was coercion. Basically, DubCon is just short for dubious consent. So it's just not an explicit, like, yes, I want this. The circumstances can vary pretty broadly. But everybody calls that like super, super dark. And to me, it wasn't dark at all. I believe the next book gets really dark. I haven't gotten to that one yet, but just as an example that a lot of people might relate to. And just as an example of how dark romance means something different to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
So
like a lot of them
they'll
have like trigger warnings and stuff, Russell. But I would say, Lacie, I would say one of the darkest books like right now that I have read would be The Sacrifice. That one to me was pretty dark because there wasn't necessarily consent in it. There was more like cult vibes to it.
Yeah.
And you didn't really figure out really what was happening until the end. There was like a lot of like violence. It was very aggressive. That one to me, I classify, just me personally, as a dark romance because it's very much like aggressive, dark undertones. The theme is really dark. You don't really get any kind of answer or resolution until really the end of the book, and there's triggers and stuff in it.
And there's abuse in that one. Which
and
that qualifies too.
Yeah, and there's some like mafia romances, Russell, like that people classify as dark because it's more of like a they've fallen for their captor kind of thing. So it has those kinds of elements to it. So that's what classifies dark.
Which brings us back to what she was answering initially, and I interrupted her. Are dark romance fans more intense? And is that why they're more common getting tattoos, etc.?
Well, intense may be the word for some, but in some cases it might be a whole other thing, because I can speak on this a little bit personally when coming back to trauma. So it turns out that dark romance actually is viewed as a form of EMDR therapy. Are you familiar with that? It stands with the eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And usually what that means is like you go in and you have this done, like your therapist would help you, and there's like, it's an actual medical procedure.
Yeah, it's the finger thing that they're
no, it's a light. It's a bar of lights,
okay,
and they go side to side, and it helps you access that trauma in your brain that you can't just get at normally. And it's a
we
whole
need to have a
process.
show just on
you
that.
have someone actually, like a therapist or law enforcement, is there holding your hand basically while
it's all very controlled environment. But it turns out dark romance can be a form of this for some readers, because, and this was the case for me for the longest time, I didn't understand why dark romance, and not just all of it, but some of it just hits, and I didn't understand, why is dark romance really helping me work my stuff out? But that's why. So for some people, it kind of like for me, it kind of gives me perspective. It lets me live through everything again, only it's not happening to me really, it's in the book, it's happening to the lead. But it gives me perspective. It lets me view things from like almost as an outsider. Like I already know all the things as an insider, but then I get to view them from other perspectives too. And then things kind of click. Things that weren't previously clicking are now clicking. And then the next thing you know, like I'm on this whole spiral where I start like healing and processing my trauma. And it's a whole thing, and it's definitely non-linear. But dark romance books started that whole process for me. They like unlocked things for me that I didn't even know were there to be unlocked, and got the ball rolling. And a lot of people that happens for, and then they're grateful, or the book that maybe started that, or just for whatever reason, one book or another might have a lot of meaning to them, and so they're gonna get a tattoo on themselves. Not related to books, but not unlike why women get Medusa tattoos. I don't know if you're in on
I
like
have no idea about that. Why do women get Medusa tattoos?
so Medusa tattoos tend to symbolize like
I know nothing apparently.
no, it's like this is niche. This is niche. Don't take it like that. But they tend to symbolize like female strength, resilience, the reclaiming of power. So Medusa is like a big thing for survivors of sexual assault or child sexual assault, rape, stuff like that. And a lot of people during their healing process will go out and get like a Medusa on them. So like if you take that into the book world and you say like, gee, this title really got me working out, my stuff, and it's what started the whole ball for me, like becoming a better person and healing. Maybe you want a tattoo that symbolizes that book, because then it's symbolizing more than just
that resonates, that really resonates on a visceral level with the reader.
Yeah.
And they want something to commemorate that. And usually, exactly. I mean, let's face it, it's not hearts and flowers, because we can actually get hearts and flowers
that's the thing.
In our real life. Even if we have to pay for it, but the dark is, when you delve into that, it's triggering something in you, and so that book made an impression. So
and maybe you're just grateful to it. Maybe it's
your badge.
Yeah.
And tattoos are intensely personal anyway.
Yes.
You don't just go and get a tattoo of anything. You think hard about
usually
what it is and where you want it.
I don't feel like everybody thinks hard. I don't feel like everybody thinks hard about
it. Oh my God, I think they do. Because I have so many like super tattooed friends, and they think long and hard about what they're going to get. They've thought for years, okay, I want this phoenix and it has to be here, and these are the colors.
Yeah, but I feel like other people too are just in like a drunken state, and they're like, "Oh, it sounds like a great idea," and then they do it, because you have people also that like
can't be drunk anymore.
They won't tattoo you drunk anymore, no, because you what was it? You bleed easier, yeah. But you hear a lot of people that like regret they have tattoos that they regret, but it's not net. I've never heard of someone getting a bookish tattoo or a book tattoo and they've ever regretted it. There's always like some kind of story about how that book impacted them or something like that. I will say on the flip side of what Lacey's saying, right? Because I don't have any trauma, and I read dark romance, and I think it's just to like push my comfort level in terms of what I'm reading, to see like what I can handle. Yep. And I think it's also just to see how unhinged I actually am to an extent. I think there's
another reason to read it.
Yeah, it's like a black and white. Like I feel like dark romance is very gray. Like it blends in to like just like people like fade to black, and people that have a lot of trauma. And then you have the other ones that are like, let's just see how jacked up my mind really can be. Like I'm more in that realm. But
I read a book 30 years ago. I mean, because my oldest son was a baby, and it was called Panic Snap. I had no idea what it was when I got it. Well, Panic Snap is in the S&M field, and I mean, this book 30 years ago was eye-opening, and it stuck with me. And I only read it once. It's not like I read it over and over again. And some of it in there, and I don't even remember if it had a trigger warning, which trigger warnings are like my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, so. And I understand some people need them, but it just.
So when you mean trigger warnings, Dina, do you mean the book actually warns you ahead of where the story's going?
Oh yeah, and there for a while there
do.
they were
And
just
how do they
getting
do that?
crazy descriptive. They were like, this book contains foul language. It's like the trigger warnings on the movies and stuff. You know, this has flashing lights, which I can understand in a movie, flashing lights, because that's going to trigger a seizure in some people. You know, but foul language and smoking and drinking, and I'm thinking, isn't that just life?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, like Russell, trigger warnings, they can be pages long, and it's just different tones of the book.
Everything that could
So
possibly
is it
trigger
just part of the
someone's
story
response.
that's warning you what's coming?
it's like no,
Or
it's
is
like
it like on the back of the book in red?
it's in the front. It's in the front of the
usually in
book.
front, right after the copyright page or on the copyright page.
Yeah.
It'll be, you know, this book contains dubious consent and cheating.
Yeah.
They'll mention cheating because
That's
is
a trigger for a lot of romance readers. Yes.
Yeah. So
And,
it has it in there so that way the reader knows what they're getting into. So like if you have like an essay survivor or you have like someone that's been cheated on multiple times and they're interested in the story, but then they see that trigger, it could be cheating or it has essay or rape in it or whatever, then that's like warning them, okay, like I don't need to read this book because that's just going to put me in a spiral. So it's more to be like, courteous to readers that may have experienced these things that take place in the book.
And this
so
is something that's just in romance genre, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
Because in greater literature, you don't see warnings on great literature that happens like
True.
Norbakov's
I
book
don't think there was
about.
I don't think there was a trigger on Game of Thrones in any of the books
exactly
on that when I read them.
Or
But this is the thing,
Norbakov's.
not everyone believes in trigger warnings, and this is a very divisive topic sometimes.
Okay, tell us about that. I care about that.
So some authors, they don't want to be responsible for sending somebody into a flashback, and so they try to be very aware of anything that might trigger somebody, and they list their trigger warnings. They take the like responsibility thing very seriously.
So that's self-censorship, don't you think?
It is in a way. Yes,
I don't
it
think
is.
I don't think it's self-censorship so much.
They're not saying, hey, you can't read this. That would be censorship. But they're saying, hey, heads up, like it touches on these subjects or these things might happen throughout my book. Some authors don't believe it's their responsibility to worry, because literally anything can be a trigger. Like seeing the cat walk across the street can be a trigger for someone. Like you never know.
That would trigger me.
Everybody's trauma is different. And you can't truly list everything, every possible trigger, because literally any word can trigger a flashback for somebody. As some people just feel like, you know, maybe it's not my responsibility. It's your responsibility to know your own triggers, work your shit out so that you're not so triggerable. And they just write their content, you can tell their story, no trigger warning.
Close the book. You can close the book. You can send the file back.
You can close the book and say, hey, this isn't from... Yeah, exactly. But trigger warnings, it's kind of a hot topic because some readers feel like everything should have trigger warnings. But your personal triggers aren't my triggers, and so on and so on. So I feel like that's, you know, not really fair to say.
Where do these debates go on?
When or what?
Where?
So
you said that these are
somebody
arguments. Where do they happen?
Reader spaces, subreddits, active Facebook reader groups, even TikTok. Like in comments on TikTok posts, you see a lot of heated discussions. I spend a lot of my time.
Yeah, and they're heated.
Once again, Amy misses TikTok.
Yes. People are very passionate about one side or the other. I'm more chill because I see both. You know, I see why an author wouldn't want to like send somebody into a flashback, and they would try their best to, you know, list their triggers. And then I see why somebody would just worry about their art and just put out their art, how they make their art. And it's up to you to like consume it or not consume it. You know, I see both sides of it, and I respect both sides of it. But it is a very
I remember being in 7th grade and reading Petals in the Wind, right? Like
you were so literate as a child. That's very impressive, Dina.
I was
very jealous of people
where
like
the
you.
red fern grows.
Oh man,
Old Yeller. I remember reading those.
I'm so jealous.
elementary school. So, well, with my mom, do you think I'm not going to grow up and have a million and one
I'm
books
just
shoved
saying,
down my throat?
it's wonderful.
Makes
Get
sense.
back to your story though, Dina.
So, I read V.C. Andrews, which was sibling rape, incest,
Yeah.
anything in it, rape, cheating,
Said everything.
grooming, basically, had everything. So I'm just like, I'm reading it at 12, right? So I'm going, what the fuck's these people's problem? Ball up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I did see in a book in one of my like romance groups, there was a book in there that said literally all the triggers. And if you want a list, you can go to my website. They weren't going to list the triggers. They just said everything to like cover their basis.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you though, Lacie, because Russell had mentioned this a couple episodes ago. And I think I know the definition of it, but I want your definition because me and you, we tend to think alike, but you go like a little bit deeper into it than I
You're a
haven't
little
thought
bit
of.
different. You're a little bit different.
I'm
In a
I'm
good
pretty
way. In a
unhinged,
good
I guess.
way.
Yeah.
In a good
So
way.
Russell had mentioned, he's learning all about romance genres and all the subgenres within romance. So I want to know what the difference is between a bully romance and friends to like enemies to lovers. Because to me, I would classify them as the same. But some people are like, no, bully romance is this and enemies to lovers is this. So I would be
don't know
interested in
what
yours.
enemies to lovers are, but I can imagine.
Okay.
Are
So
those two different subgenres?
they can be the same and they can be different. It really
Yeah.
depends on the individual content. So bully romance or bullymance, as you might say, he's and we're gonna say, like, obviously gender roles can be reversed, but just for simplicity, maybe he's bullying her, and maybe it's young adult, they're still in high school. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the workplace. Age can vary too, but he's literally bullying her. Whether it's like, playground stuff and he's calling her names, or whether it's like in the workplace and he's sabotaging her work. Maybe she had like a big project for their marketing firm that they both work for, and he went in behind her and deleted her entire hard drive the day before that shit was due. That's bullying. It's also obviously harassment.
That's called I'm gonna kick your ass type shit.
Yeah, I mean, bullying, harassment, however you want to call it. So yeah, they would be enemies, and then in bullymance, they would usually turn into lovers. They would evolve into lovers, and so then it's also enemies to lovers. It can be bully romance and enemies to lovers, but it can be enemies to lovers without being also bullymance. Like, for example, maybe they're rivals. Maybe it's a workplace romance. They both work for the same corporation or in the same office, whatever. But maybe they're rivals. Maybe they're both up for the same position or promotion, or maybe they both have to work on the same projects, but only one of them's gonna get the credit or get to roll with it, or just, there's a million scenarios I could give. And so they're rivals, but they're forced to work together and they fall in love. Maybe there's no bullying whatsoever. They just have like a competition between them. Or maybe they're enemies for a different reason. They get together and each one realizes
Romeo and Juliet.
The other side of it.
That's
and
what I was
he's
gonna
not
say.
so bad, she's not so bad, and they fall in love.
It's basically the adult version of Johnny pulling Judy's pigtails on the playground.
You could say that, but it's not always that bullying aspect. Like, sometimes they just butt heads for a totally different reason. There's no bullying. They just have a disagreement or whatever, and then they fall for each other. So they can be the same and they can be different, to put it simply, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So that brings me to two more questions. Okay. Okay. What are some of the other subgenres of romance that I may not have heard of? Because every time you mention one, it's something new to me. And secondly, where do romance readers, if they say, I want to read enemy to lovers romance, do they type that into Amazon? I know because I went to the bookstores and searched the romance sections. I can't find dark romance. I don't see any of these subgenres put on signs. And yet, when I asked someone, they asked me, what are you looking for? And I said, well, I was looking for the dark romance. Oh, it's here, here, and here.
Yeah, you
So
just kind of
obviously it's well known. So what are some of the other subgenres that I may not have heard of? Because every time you mention one. Number two is, where do people that like it find it?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer them backwards. As far as where do people that like it find it? Yeah, because like you pointed out, if you go to a bookstore, they're just gonna have romance in one big section. They're not gonna be
Right.
like enemies to lovers, workplace lovers, friends to lovers. It's just gonna be romance all dumped in together.
Romantic suspense, romantic comedy. It's
Romance.
shelved by author is how it's shelved in a bookstore.
Yeah, and
And
it's just all lumped
Amazon,
together.
it's based on their metadata, which is all in the back end when it's uploaded.
Which is
And
a whole
based on
other
your
cluster that doesn't.
BIACS. I can't
So,
remember the acronym, but
if
it's
you
like
want
the font.
enemy to lover, where do you find it, Dina?
And that's the
You
thing, because I mean, a
Google it.
lot of us are mood readers, and so that's where reader spaces come in, especially the active Facebook groups. And I'm not talking the ones that you spam and go, hey, buy my book, hey, I need ARC readers for this. I'm talking about active being the operative word, reader spaces where you're usually not allowed to post ads in these groups to just keep the conversations hopping. And people will come in and say, hey, I'm in the mood for this type of book. I want it to be X, Y, and Z. I want them to work together. I want them to start out as enemies and then evolve into friends and then become lovers. And readers do get very specific with their requests. Like literally they could be like, hey, I want a book where that female lead only wears green. Like I see shit like this all the time. It's wild.
Where do
I
you
love
see
romance.
that?
Intense.
What is
Yeah.
it? And there's also like name that book is one of the Facebook groups, and you're like, look, I know that there's this book, and I remember this character's name, and I guarantee you, within 30 minutes, someone's going to pop in and say, "Hey, could it be this?"
It's so nice though. It's so nice, but like Lacie was saying, and like my like smutty Facebook groups that I'm in, some people are like super specific on the type of books that they're wanting.
Yep.
Or they're like, hey, like I just finished this series and I really like it. Like, do you have any others that like are even close to like the same kind of version of it? And I mean, within it, that has like 100 and something comments. But in terms of like a dark romance section at a bookstore, there's not. You can kind of tell by like the cover, but you have to go like knowing what you're looking for to kind of
obviously, if you like it, you're familiar with some of the authors, because the people I asked knew exactly where those books were within the romance section.
And
some of it too, if you and I know this from my end of the work, you put shelving data on your cover and you put shelving data on your copyright page. That helps bookstores and libraries. And even if the author puts the Dewey Decimal number in there, that's how it gets shelved as well. So like if you know the Dewey Decimal number of the subject you're looking for, you can find it that way in a library.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody.
The average reader though doesn't know that anymore. So the average reader, we're talking about like ancient language here.
You're weird. I'm sorry, the average reader, like what Lacie said.
Like I know,
I'm like reader right now.
I can tell you, Dina's not as old as me. Of course, I'm weirder than Dina. It's just
Russell, I go
to
to Barnes and Noble and I go to the romance section. And what I'll do is I'll like, I don't know, like you look at the spines of the books, right? So I'll find a spine of a book that I like and I'll read it. And generally for me, the darker the cover or like skulls on the cover, those kinds of things are going to elude you to a dark romance, where if it's like peppy, full of colors, it could be spicy, it could be fade to black, but it's probably going to have a happy ending where like skulls and dark and all that.
You're going to have more muted and darker colors.
And see, that's straight up that cover people know that. And, and I can say this on the show, Dina is a great cover person. She did my covers. And I bet Dina would know how to do that if the right author hired her, right? I mean, she would know.
Yeah.
That's kind
of I just did it for a guest y'all had on a couple of weeks ago. I did.
There you go. I totally believe you.
Yeah. So I'm just saying. Russell, what other questions do you have that we can get Lacie to answer before we go?
Okay. with the last two,
Yeah,
the
we can do
last
it.
set of
Y'all are gonna have
questions,
to have LJ back.
Yeah, we're
oh,
not
we
going to cover all
will.
this in 45 minutes.
Right.
I know.
But
The
what else do you
last
want to know?
thing, okay, the last thing I want us to cover before we go, and I don't want us to run over, is Dina. I want you to tell us, the listeners, a little bit about what great job LJ does, what her job is, and the story about what the author did, because I think they need to hear this to appreciate that she knows what she's talking about.
That doesn't answer your questions.
Yeah, no. Lacie is who I contact. If I say, okay, look, I need to do something and it's going to hit with Amazon's TOS, what do? And Lacie is my go-to answer person. Lacie is my go-to answer person for newsletter services because she does the research because that's in her wheelhouse. She's like this masterful PA/VA, personal assistant, virtual assistant for authors. She is so freaking excellent that I don't think she's taking on any new clients at the moment.
Well, we're not doing this for her to advertise. We had to
But-
drag her on to
but I'm
answer
saying-
questions because she's an expert.
But she's one of her clients has got her an assistant. So Lacie is the only PA I know that has her own PA.
That's because Lacie is a badass who gets shit done and like gets things moving in like her author's arena. Like Lacie is someone
if it's
that you want.
anything Amazon specific or like retailer specific or all the gears that work in the background, Lacie's my go-to. Lacie's
There's just a lot of shit that needs to be done. It's just a lot. It's more than there are hours in a day. So sometimes more help might be needed. That's all.
Yeah, and PAs normally, and Lacie can speak to it more, but PAs normally handle any administrative type stuff that authors need done so that authors can focus on their writing.
Pretty much,
So
yes.
they'll handle doing the newsletters, sometimes they'll take on some publicist duties and try to pitch them for speaking or blog tours or stuff like that. So they're,
pitching ARC readers, things like that. Yeah, I mean, most of my days are spent like drafting newsletters, communicating with reviewers, scheduling content to social media, and then also just living in those reader spaces that I was telling you about, because I read those like, hey, I want a book that has XYZ, and then I'm going to be the one that's in there going, hey, this book by this author has XYZ, and oh my God, it was so good. It also has A, B, and C, and here's a pretty cover to catch your eye. And I'll give you guys a little secret. It's not really a secret, but that's usually going to be like one of my authors wrote whatever book I'm hyping up, because that's a lot of what I do. Just because there's so many books out there, it's hard for readers to navigate. There's like something like 4,000 books are published to Amazon just every single day, and that's just Amazon. So
and how many of those are low
content? Exactly. And low quality in some instances. And then readers, a lot of us are mood readers and we just want a specific vibe. And so readers are going to say, hey, I want this. And so I'm just matching them up with something that they genuinely are going to love, but maybe also putting them onto one of my authors in the process.
So, and like if you're looking, if you're Russell and you're looking for dark romance, go on Facebook, find a dark romance Facebook.
I'm gonna send you some, Russell. But it's a no judgment zone.
We're gonna have to have a show about this.
Yeah, it's a no judgment zone though. Like for real, when you deal with romance authors, I know that you guys have seen like the reels and stuff where it's like we listen and we don't judge. Like they like eat, breathe, and sleep that. Like you listen to the story and then I read it and you don't judge it. But I will, Russell, I will send you dark romance
Lacie, will
recommendations.
you come back? Will you come back to discuss these subjects more?
Yeah, I feel like there's more to discuss.
We have a lot of this. Today's been a little bit surface because to break the ice.
Russell had so many questions.
It's like an ant colony, man. I'm telling you. It's like an ant colony. But no, you guys, so obviously this is going to be like an ongoing thing until we get Russell satisfied and all his
Okay, that
answers.
sounds creepy.
All
That's
his
really
questions
creepy.
didn't have to
answered.
put it like
Russell,
that.
you just turned it creepy. It was not creepy until you turned it creepy, you guys. But oh my gosh, you guys, I want to thank Lacie for coming on, Dina for coming
Thank
on
you,
and having
Lacie. Thank you,
a
Dina.
fun conversation. Russell, getting your questions answered. I'm glad that we could put a drop in this big bucket of answers that we need to get Russell. But you guys, we hope everybody has a fantastic week, a great rest of your day. And if you have any book recommendations, drop them in the comments and give your what happens next for Russell on his
One paragraph.
yeah, on his white
I wanna
truck.
see
But
these.
until next time, you guys, bye for now, everybody.